Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ep.4 of the Learn English with News podcast. It's me, Stu Sensei. I'm here with my delightful co-host, Dan, who's here as well.
Yes, I'm here as well.
And that is her as well, yeah, I suppose.
Hello. Yeah, hello, everybody.
Essential co-host is here as well. Dan, say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Love it. Back to on top form. Yeah, hello, everybody. Nice to see you all again. I can't see you, obviously, but yeah, I bet you've all got smashing blouses on.
Can you tell me about your t-shirt?
It's a weird t-shirt, isn't it? Very colourful for me. Usually I just wear black. So
it's a nice color.
My mate in England made a weird horror film.
Oh.
And this is the t-shirt for that film. It's
that's
called
cool.
Banjo. But it's kind of one of those films that's so bad it's good, and it's designed that way. So it's not exactly those PG films, so I'll kind of leave it at that. If you want to look, it's called My Bloody Banjo. But yeah, my mate Liam made it. I helped kickstart his film, and I got this t-shirt. So
is that a play on words? My Bloody Banjo, like
I'm sure
a British.
You can kind of picture where it's going. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, but is it like the picture? Is it like a Britishism as well involved?
Yeah, and in the banjo, not the instrument, is probably the best way I can put that.
Sure.
Still remain somewhat monetizable.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a cool t-shirt.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's nice. So just to give
that's the banter for today.
That is the banter. The banter's unfortunately ended here. Don't expect any more laughs for the whole episode. No, joking, of course. If you hear any external noise in Japan, there is politician or election season. So there's many politicians going around. So either me or Dan's side, there'll be some kind of noise potentially. Hopefully there won't be, but there may be. So just to let you know, if you hear some Japanese. This is a non-Japanese podcast. No Japanese here, just English, okay? So yeah, joking, but that might be the reason. So right, cool. In this podcast, we are all about learning English with the news. We will be going through 3 articles, 2 from international news and 1 from local news from inside Britain somewhere. So we've done Devon, Yorkshire and Essex in the last 3 episodes. So check them out. And the key thing is we want to learn some key advanced vocabulary that you'll see pop up in the news quite regularly. That's why we're doing it. Alongside that, also, we'll do some pronunciation. You'll also get the chance to do some shadowing, and we'll have a little chit chat to have a natural conversation, see how much you can understand from that. The great thing is there's also a PDF in the description. This PDF will give you lots of extra information, extended articles from these news stories with lots of vocabulary. Each article has around about 30 words of vocabulary that I go through inside it. And then there's some like little games and things to help you retain the vocabulary as well. So be sure to check that out down below. But let's get into our first one for today. We have UN expands arms embargo in Haiti. Haiti.
Haiti. Let's go with that.
Okay, so we're going to go through the first paragraph. We'll explain these tricky words in the title afterwards, okay, because they do come up. So let's go. The United Nations Security Council voted unanimously on October 18th, 2024 to expand its arms embargo on Haiti, a move aimed at curbing the flow of weapons into the hands of criminal gangs that have plunged the country into chaos. This expanded embargo, which now covers all types of weapons and ammunition, is a significant step beyond the previous measures that only targeted small arms and specific individuals. Oh, these people, they only have small arms? No, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Is it the people with the small arms or what? So we should probably explain that at some point.
Yeah, definitely so. So let's start off with the first piece of vocabulary, unanimously.
Unanimously, when everybody agrees about a thing or a decision. So let's say there's 30 people and you ask them to vote which football team they like, and they unanimously decide that their favorite team is Queen's Park Rangers because all 30 of them vote for that team. Unanimous. 100% of the people agree with whatever the opinion is.
They definitely would. They definitely
Hmm.
would. It's the best
I
team.
said that just for you. Just
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah. The best team at the bottom of the championship right now. But yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's my team, and they are rubbish at the minute. But
That's the point of being a football fan. You have
the pace.
terrible decades and then maybe one decent season and then back to
Yeah.
normal.
Did you know I did a poll for the last podcast, and everyone unanimously said that this podcast is going to be the best podcast of 2000, best new podcast of 2024. Yay!
Hey!
Maybe
Thanks,
that's
everyone.
maybe that's a white lie, but
I choose to believe it's not.
okay. Let's talk about arms. I love my arms. How about you? These arms, we're British, so we're not used to guns, guys, by the way, if you
Yeah,
knew.
well, I definitely don't have guns, but
Yeah.
arms in this context actually refers to guns.
Yeah.
So there's a joke here because when somebody's really muscly, they're like, "Look at my guns,"
Yeah, that's interesting.
and arms. But basically, when we talk about arms, we're meaning weapons, specifically guns, military equipment, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And maybe you've heard the term arms race, which is where people get bigger and bigger guns, like to be the most powerful, right? But arms, in this case, it mentions small arms and this kind of stuff. We're basically talking about weapons, guns, etc.
Maybe small arms could be knives or like
Or like
revolver.
handheld pistols or
Yeah,
something. Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about guns, the
yeah,
muscles or the weapons.
I'm wondering whether like assault rifles or small arms these days, or at least in America, it seems.
Like
Embargo.
evolution, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
So it caught
Embargo.
me off guard there.
That's all right.
Embargo. It's kind of like a ban related to trade between countries, usually, isn't it? So, like, let's say Britain doesn't want to export crumpets to Japan anymore. Japan's misbehaving. We're not sending any more crumpets. There's a crumpet embargo.
Can you explain
And
what crumpet is? Because I can't explain what crumpet is. It's like a
yeah, what
bread.
is it potato? Is it bread? Like what? I don't even know what it is.
I
It's
don't know.
amazing, whatever it is.
I
But
don't. Is it potato? Really?
I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like a potato cake is quite similar. So, but a crumpet is basically about yay thick, and
What's
it's got loads of little holes in it, and you put it in toaster, and then you put butter on it, and it's pretty good.
what's a
But I
potato cake?
think it's like a Scottish thing. It's like a really thin crumpet.
It's not a cake made of potatoes, no.
No, I mean, because that sounds terrible. But
Yeah, but why would you call it a potato cake?
well,
Even
you've seen a bread cake, like
a bread cake. Yeah, but there's at least some level of something looks similar or could be similar. But potato,
Scottish people, they just make stuff up.
does it look like a potato? Maybe. Okay, so anyway, a crumpet. Yeah,
We're
crumpet.
completely off the topic. Embargo is one country decides they're not going to trade with another country for political reasons.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's hope the crumpets continue selling.
I
Okay.
miss crumpets. I wish I could buy a crumpet in Japan.
I'm never a fan actually. I think it's.
Mm,
Are you a Marmite guy as well? By the way.
nah, 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 nah.
Okay.
Get that stuff straight in bin.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
So,
Okay.
not a fan.
Plunge. Plunge.
Plunge.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so for me, this I instantly think about like you plunge something into water, right? Like
Yes.
that's kind of the image I get. Like if you jump off a diving board, you plunge into the water. But I suppose in this case, it's more like to fall or drop,
Decrease.
like a high, like very quickly, I would imagine. Yeah. And you often get that expression, plunge something into chaos.
Yeah.
Like to take it from normal and quickly make it chaotic. Yeah.
To give you a synonym as well, plummet is quite a nice one. It's similar.
Yeah. I
Plunge.
feel like plummet is like the intransitive, like it just happens, but plunge is something that you do, right? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah,
But
kind of like raise and rise, that kind of thing.
to plunge the country into chaos, basically, like the safety in the country has dropped dramatically in this
Yeah,
case.
cool.
Okay, that's beautiful. There's a 4 words from this paragraph. I just want to quickly review a little bit. So, voted unanimously. We talked about that. So they all agreed to expand its arms embargo. That means to basically ban weapon trade with another country. Yeah. So those other ones we didn't really go over quickly, but And then in terms of pronunciation for today, I've got a little tip for you instead. So I've picked 4 words. One of them is from the second paragraph we haven't seen just yet, but it's to show a key rule, really, with something many
Yeah.
people struggle with. So past tense ed, words with ed on the end, the regular verbs that get ed on the end. Many people struggle because there's 3 types of pronunciation. So I want to show you what I'm going to call group 1 for today. And this is the easiest one. You can solve this one pretty much immediately if you're just aware. And I'm going to challenge you in the second article to see if you notice which words have this rule. But basically, any word that ends in a T sound and a D sound, for example, expand, which is one of the words we're going to look at, expand. If it has a D sound at the end, you're going to add id on the end. So expanded. Same with T sound. So I picked the word vote as the first one because even though the last letter is E on the verb, actually the last sound is the T. That's why it's important. What is the last sound? So voted. Yeah. So let's go through 4 words that I picked from this one to show you that from this article. So we've got voted, repeat, voted, and then expanded, expanded, targeted, targeted, and supported, supported. We're going to be introduced to supported right now with this next paragraph. So let's go through. This decision comes amid worsening violence in Haiti, where gangs have taken control of large parts of the capital. Port-au-Prince, Port-au-Prince,
Port-au-Prince. I think it's probably French.
Port-au-Prince, yeah,
Port-au-Prince.
and other regions. The humanitarian crisis has deepened with recent massacres such as the one at Pont-Sonde in early October that left over 100 people dead. The UN resolution was supported by all 15 member states, and it includes a renewal of the sanctions regime first introduced in 2022. The sanctions also extend travel bans and asset freezes on key figures tied to gang activities. Okay. Did I put that word in? Oh, I'm going to add an extra word to this as well for pronunciation. Oh, so amid.
Amid, in the middle of something else happening. Yeah, so like something is happening and then another thing happens in the middle of all that. So yeah, amid, in the middle or during something else happening.
So, for example, amid this podcast, there is some banter.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, if we allow it. If we allow it, we might be lucky. Okay, yeah, amid, nice one. Humanitarian. This one comes up a lot these days.
So the concept of humanitarianism is doing something that helps humans, basically. So helping people in need or reducing suffering of humans in some way, shape, or form. This can take place in like charity, like humanitarian charities that donate food to, places that don't have enough food, for example.
Yes. So this one says the humanitarian crisis, which means
that's a common pair, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a common collocation, and this is something that it's obviously not a good thing. Crisis. Anything with crisis on the side is never going to be a good thing. So, yeah. And then the next one gives proof of that. Massacres.
Yeah, this is a tough word. It's killing of many people, but it's like worse. I mean, I don't know how it can be worse, but it's like really brutal, really violent, usually.
No dignity.
Like
no dignity.
If somebody, like the difference between a killing spree and a massacre is basically how violent it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah, extreme version of what you wouldn't imagine. Maybe they aim to maybe cause problems for the person rather. Obviously, death is a problem, but I mean, like it's
you're trying to do it in the worst possible way.
Yeah,
kind of
undignified way. They make them feel bad, like awful beforehand. It's not like a sudden thing, is it?
No.
And a sanction. Sanction. There's lots of technical words which are quite tricky to come up in the podcast. So sanction. Let's get this one.
Sanction is kind of similar to an embargo, but sanction is more like a penalty, like a fine in a way. Like you didn't do what you were supposed to do, so we're going to take something away.
And it's like the repercussion of what if the
They didn't
embargo.
follow the rules, so there's like a repercussion, right?
So if you didn't,
Embargo is just like we're gonna try to stop doing something. We're not going to trade with you.
yeah, but if someone decides to not go inside with the embargo, so let's say one country decides to trade with that country, even though
Mm.
they're not allowed
Then
to,
they might get
then they
sanctions.
might get
Yeah,
sanctions. Yeah,
it's like because you can't really put a country in jail, so it's kind of like some variation of that, I suppose. Like yeah, so sanctions and embargoes they're often quite similar terms,
and they get
but
used a lot together. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean, like these days with all the stuff that's going on in the world, you're going to hear the word sanction quite a lot, I would imagine.
yeah, definitely. So I
Yeah.
agree. So here it says, and it includes a renewal of the sanctions regime. So
So it looks like they put some sanctions in place in 2022, and now because this is happening, they're like, okay, let's look at that again.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, for pronunciation, we're going to go through the two paragraphs before we do the shadowing to look at some tricky words to pronounce. So here we go. We have unanimously. I picked this one because of the U at the start. It's tricky.
Mm,
Unanimously. Second one is embargo. Embargo. Third one is weapons because of that EA. I mean, that can be
not
tricky.
weapons, it's
Yeah, yeah.
wep. Yeah.
And also the O, you don't need to say the O sound. Weapons, it's
Mm,
shortened. Worsening, worsening. The sound's always tricky. Massacres. I picked this one because actually the second half, it's a rare word, but people may know. Acre. So
mm,
acre is like a size of land, essentially, where
mm.
you measure land in the UK. I think in America they use hectares, didn't they?
Probably. I mean, like the way we measure
Like,
stuff in England is so silly.
yeah, yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it, to the rest of the world? But yeah, so this one is massacres,
Mm,
acres rather than acres. So be careful with that.
mm.
Next one's regime, that
Je.
that j sound instead of the j or g. And then last one I've added just now is figures or figures.
Interesting. I
So which
say
one do you use?
figure. Figure.
Oh, that's interesting. So I wonder if I'm using an American figure. No, figure is more American, but we talked
Mm.
about before, it's
There's quite a lot of
Southern
Americanism.
English versus Northern English.
Southern English, yeah, 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 yeah.
So
So
yeah,
figure, naturally, I say figure, I think.
yeah, figure. Yeah, so figure, I would say,
Hmm.
south of England. So both are fine. You can choose whichever you like. Okay, let's go through some shadowing then. I'll file through once. For this portion, you can just mimic after me or Dan. Dan will also do it. So depending which accent you want to practice, or you could practice both if you want a bit of fun, just practice your English. So try and mimic what we say, quite close to when we've said it as well. Here we go. The United Nations Security Council voted unanimously on October 18th, 2024, to expand its arms embargo on Haiti, a move aimed at curbing the flow of weapons into the hands of criminal gangs that have plunged the country into chaos. This expanded embargo, which now covers all types of weapons and ammunition, is a significant step beyond the previous measures that only targeted small arms and specific individuals. The decision comes amid worsening violence in Haiti, where gangs have taken control of large parts of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and other regions. The humanitarian crisis has deepened, with recent massacres such as the one in Pont-Sonde in early October that left over 100 people dead. The UN resolution was supported by all 15 member states, and it includes a renewal of the sanctions regime first introduced in 2022. The sanctions also extend travel bans and asset freezes on key figures tied to gang activities. So
Oh,
apologies if I've said any place names wrong, which is quite likely.
yeah, that's hard because it's place names are notoriously difficult to pronounce correctly anyway.
Yeah,
So, because they usually come from other languages, so we have to butcher them in some way to make them fit.
100%. Okay, your turn to
Cool.
picture it.
Nice. Right then. The United Nations Security Council voted unanimously on October 18th, 2024, to expand its arms embargo on Haiti, a move aimed at curbing the flow of weapons into the hands of criminal gangs that have plunged the country into chaos. This expanded embargo, which now covers all types of weapons and ammunition, is a significant step beyond the previous measures that only targeted small arms and specific individuals. The decision comes amid worsening violence in Haiti, where gangs have taken control of large parts of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and other regions. The humanitarian crisis has deepened with recent massacres such as the one in Pont-Sonde in early October that left over 100 people dead. The UN resolution was supported by all 15 member states, and it includes a renewal of the sanctions regime first introduced in 2022. The sanctions also extend travel bans and asset freezes on key figures tied to gang activities.
Okay, there we go. So obviously a big situation happening in Haiti right now.
Mm.
Weapons. Let's talk a little bit about weapons. Obviously, we're in the UK and we don't have well, gun laws are quite strict. It is possible to get guns. I lived in the
And my
country,
stepdad used to have hunting
rifles or
rifles.
something. Yeah, but
Yeah, and he
not
used to have
like
to keep them locked up in a safe in the house, and the police would come around every couple of months to check everything was cool.
it's quite
It was
restricted.
really hard to get, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You go for a thorough a
Mm,
process, I think, to get it,
yeah.
get them. What do you think about guns? I mean,
It's tough, isn't it? Like, as it's hard to have an opinion because it's something that's never really affected my life, to be honest. Being in England, you never really hear or see about it so much. But then you turn on TV and you obviously see America, and you're like, well, why don't they just stop having guns? But it's a more complex situation over there than it is. And I mean, in England, we've got a similar problem with knife crime these days.
but it's a bit different, isn't it? Because you can't exactly massacre a lot of people, or you can't have a like a
Yeah, it's
large
much
shoot.
harder. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You can't kill that as obviously killing people is terrible. I'm not saying knife
yeah.
crime is a good thing, but in comparison to the gun crime that you hear about, where a guy goes in and kills a bunch of kids in school in America, versus knife crime where maybe one person gets stabbed, and it might not be fatal as well. I think
Mm,
it's more likely for someone to be fatally wounded with a gun
wounded, yeah.
than a knife. So,
Well, let's be honest, we're comparing like two things that both suck. Like in an
yeah, of
ideal
course.
world,
Yeah,
neither of those things would
yeah,
exist.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah, definitely
So
so. So there's neither of them are good, and both countries have problems with this type of crime, these different types of
mm,
crime. But yeah, in my opinion, though, I don't know about you, but I think maybe it's because I've got kids and my sensitivity definitely increased since having
mm,
children. But I'm not interested in going to America because of it, actually.
no, honestly, like it's one of those things. Growing up, when I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, America was like the coolest thing.
Yeah,
Like, and I remember being a kid, like I want to go to America. I really want to go there.
I wanted to go
But
to the
now when you,
when I was young.
yeah,
Do you know
and
the
it's
waterfall?
like,
Like a punk.
yeah, I mean, it's just coming back, isn't it? Like,
Oh,
but
really?
it kind of. I would love to have gone to like Water and in that stuff. But now I'm like, you know what? Nah, don't fancy it. And I think that's one of the things living in Japan is like is unbelievably safe in general.
Yeah, yeah.
That now I've been here for a while, I'm always a bit like I don't really want to go back to England sometimes.
Yeah, no, no, same actually.
Yeah,
Because of the safety side of things, but there's obviously bad things in all countries. We can't say
yeah.
Japan is perfect, but there's the safety is a big thing. Again, with because of my kids, safety is
Mm,
humongous and immense. If you watch the last episode, an immense
yeah, good man. Yeah.
part of my
Decision
uh,
making, right?
decision making. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of insane, but like you said, everywhere has got things, and no matter where you live, you kind of learn to deal with it. Like where I grew up in the north of England, there's parts of the city that you just don't go to because it's just how it is. And when you live there, you know not to go there. Like, and it's the same. You hear stories in America, like silly white tourist walks into the Bronx or like some ghetto or
the
something. Like,
phrase the
they shouldn't
wrong.
be there.
You got the phrase the wrong side of the tracks, haven't you? So
Yeah. And it's like people who live there know that you go there, there could be trouble, right? And that's just how it is. So I think you learn to adapt no matter where you live. And I think when you are not sure, that's when you can get into trouble. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
100%. Okay, let's go on to our second one, which unfortunately is also about death in some way. This
Mm,
one is about the DR Congo ferry disaster. So,
I haven't heard about this.
You've heard about it?
I haven't heard about
Oh,
this.
you haven't heard about it. Sorry.
Mm.
So we will today. We'll all learn about it today. So I'll go through the first paragraph. Here we go. On October 3rd, 2024, a tragic ferry disaster occurred on Lake Kivu in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, resulting in the deaths of at least 87 people. The ferry, which had departed from Minova in South Kivu province, capsized near Kituku, just outside the city of Goma in North Kivu province. The ferry was reportedly overcrowded, carrying hundreds of passengers, many of whom were missing after the incident. Strong winds and the vessel's excessive load contributed to the disaster.
Mm. Absolute nightmare.
Yeah. So the first word we're going to go with, important one, is tragic.
Yeah, tragic. Great sadness and suffering.
Yeah.
Really, really unfortunate. You know, yeah, something that you'll often hear tragic loss of life, or you'll hear tragic death as like a collocation quite a lot, but something that causes great sadness or suffering, I would probably say.
Yeah. So, but the one thing is, in English, we tend to use words and weaken the strength of them. So it depends
Mm,
on where you hear this word. So in the news, it's usually quite a strong meaning. Like here, tragic is like a real suffering. This happened
I
here.
know what you mean. Yeah.
In British English, actually, we kind of weaken it. Oh, that's tragic, mate. Like,
Yeah. You drop your pint on way back from bar, like,
that's
oh, that's
tragic.
tragic.
Yeah. So look, we've really kind of it's quite difficult when you first go to the UK to really understand the nuance on that one word, you could say. And then quite a
There's
few.
quite a lot like that. Yeah, yeah.
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 So
Because
just,
like gutted is almost like that now. It used to be like, you know, you lost your job and like
yeah.
you feel like your stomach kind of like this and you're gutted. But now it's like, oh mate, I've lost a quid down back at sofa. I'm gutted. Like,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of lost all impact now. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
it's important to understand that context is king. Okay,
yeah,
guys,
that's very
context
true.
is king. So please understand that when there's any word you don't know or you can't understand why it's put in its place, just try and guess from the context. There's probably not as strong a meaning as you think in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Capsized.
Yeah, this is specifically for boats, right? And it basically the boat is usually this way and it ends up this way. And the act of doing that is to capsize. From go for audio listeners to be the normal way up to upside down
Yeah,
in
basically,
a boat, right?
and
Yeah.
eventually under the water, you'd assume. Yeah,
Eventually, yeah. I mean, like if you think, is it exactly that? I mean, did the Titanic capsize or did it just sink? Like,
I
there's,
guess
there's a
the
different
first.
nuance there, isn't there? Like,
Well, Titanic. Yeah, that's a
it
good.
didn't really go upside down, did it? So,
Mm.
yeah, I'd say it just sunk. But anyway,
Yeah,
let's
but
not
yeah,
get into the
the next.
specifics.
Well, this is important nuance though. So it's not. It might not refer to if it doesn't turn over, basically. But capsize comes before sink in essence.
Yeah,
In this case.
like logically, yeah.
Yeah, in this case, if it turns over.
Mm.
Okay, that's a nice one. So the ferry capsized near
Hmm.
Kituku, just outside the city of Goma, and then we have vessel.
Interesting, because vessel is like a container used for transporting something, basically.
Mm,
But in this case, we're often referring as a vessel to be a boat or a ship, specifically a pretty big one, I would imagine. Not just like a fishing boat for two people. We're talking about something a
yeah,
bit more substantial.
container vessel, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
taking
yeah, yeah.
large amounts of maybe different things, exports and things.
So yeah, I would say like a big ship or boat in this context.
But vessel can also mean a person as well, couldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Thing that it is carrying something essentially.
yeah, like you often see it in like supernatural stuff, like oh, he's a vessel for evil demons or something, like he's like a vehicle almost. I
That's
suppose vessel is like similar to vehicle, where vehicle refers to things on the road usually. Vessel can be referring to things on the ocean, I suppose.
mm.
Something like that.
And then excessive, because this comes up a lot.
Yeah, excessive, more than is acceptable, basically. For example, when I have fish and chips, I put an excessive amount of vinegar on it.
Oh,
Like whatever the normal amount of vinegar is, I'm gonna try and double that. Like So more than is normal or necessary or even acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a famous comedian in the UK who puts an excessive amount of sugar in his tea. 16 spoonfuls of sugar.
What?
Used to.
Who's that?
Bob Mortimer. I saw it.
No, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that's mental.
Six. That's gonna be like syrup at that point,
Yeah,
surely.
yeah, 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 exactly. So
May as well just eat sugar and just have done.
he was talking about his teeth, how like he's got the whole bottom or something is not his teeth, not his real.
But that's becoming more and more common anyway, just to get like a row of implants, isn't it? It's becoming more
Yeah.
and more normal. So
So let's
Turkish teeth, as we call it.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's go through the pronunciation from this. Again, we're going to look at the ed. Did you notice them in this
Mm,
paragraph? There are three. If you found them all, great job. There's also one in the second paragraph that we will see. But the three you should have noticed are overcrowded, overcrowded, departed, departed, contributed, contributed, and exacerbated, exacerbated.
this is good. So the question I'm going to ask on behalf of the listener is like, is there situations when it's not id? Like
Yeah,
all
this
these
is
ones
only
have
group
id,
one.
right? So
Yeah. So I'm thinking we're going to come up against these in future episodes. So
nice. So keep
each
listening.
session, yeah, each session there will be one pronunciation point for you to go through, and that's the practice.
Mm,
But this time, yeah, this is just one of three groups, and it really depends on the ending sounds of the verb in its dictionary
mm,
form, and then also whether you're using your voice or not using your voice to make that
mm.
last sound. So, but in this case, it's quite easy to learn. This is
So
just
it's the t
the
and d endings,
sound.
right? These ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly that.
Cool. Nice.
Okay, let's go to paragraph 2. Here we go. The passengers on board were trying to reach Goma, but the boat sank just 700 meters from the port. Overloading and hazardous conditions on Lake Kivu, exacerbated by ongoing conflict in the region, frequently led to such frequently lead to such accidents. At least 78 people were initially confirmed dead, with additional bodies recovered over the following days. 9 survivors were rescued and taken to local hospitals for treatment. Okay, so there's a nice word here, hazardous. You might see this on
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. Dangerous or risky.
Hmm.
Yeah. So a hazard is something that, you kind of want to avoid. And this is the kind of adjective. Something is hazardous. If you go to your bathroom, you probably got chemicals that are hazardous in there somewhere for cleaning.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, 100%. After the shower, if the floor is wet, it is hazardous.
yeah, wet floor signs,
Hmm.
often wet floor hazard. And in golf as well, they have hazards, right? Like the bunker and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, good.
Stuff you want
Yeah,
to
rough
avoid,
areas and
basically.
the bunkers. Yeah, sure, water hazard as well. Yeah, good example from golf. So overloading and hazardous conditions.
So probably the weather and the condition of the water was a bit dangerous, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah, maybe a choppy. Maybe the water was choppy.
Good word. Yeah.
Exacerbated.
Okay, good word. To make something worse,
Mhm.
like a bad situation, you make it worse.
Yeah.
For example, you're cooking some chips at home and the pan catches fire, and you're like, I know how to fix this. Sling some water on it. That's
But
only going to exacerbate things.
I like I understand why you've made that very simple example, and it shows the movement of how this word works and where it would
Mm.
work. But if you're in a conversation with your mate, would you say, "Oh, I exacerbated the situation by putting water on my pan. I didn't realize that."
No, like, mate, I made it much worse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just to let you know, it's really more used in
It's
publications.
definitely a
Yeah,
higher level of lexical difficulty, I suppose. So
and
yeah,
maybe
don't use that with your mate down the pub.
more serious situations you might hear it in as well. Yeah. So these conditions exacerbated by the ongoing conflict, which is the next word, because we this is coming up a lot. Conflict.
Yeah, conflict is any kind of disagreement or fight, but it's often used to describe conflict between two groups that is often very violent. Yeah. I mean, you can have conflict between hosts on a podcast that disagree with each other. That's a bit of conflict, right?
Never
Like
happened.
when I say that the North is better, me and Stu are going to have a bit of conflict.
No,
But
it is better. I believe it. No, I'm joking. Of course not.
yeah,
No, I'm joking.
that's a white lie. But yeah, like we're in this case on the news, you're probably referring to two groups of people that are fighting against each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But you can also have a conflict of interests.
Yeah, that's a good word. Like where, for example, the best one I've ever heard, it was like the local doctor was also the funeral director
Oh, yeah,
for that town or something, and they were like, "Yeah, that's kind of a conflict of interest, mate."
yeah,
Uh, like the doctor is also the person that makes money on the funeral. Like
yeah, yeah,
some
yeah.
that's a bit off there. Yeah,
Yeah. A politician who is supported by maybe like a arms manufacturer who says that they don't agree with war. It's a kind of a conflict of interest, and it doesn't
yeah,
make
yeah, yeah.
sense.
Can't do both.
No. And the last one, important one, survivors.
Yeah, people who continue to live after something that maybe should have killed them.
Yeah.
Now, you're in an accident, but you don't die. You continue to live. You survived. You're a survivor. I'm a survivor.
But it can be used in a weaker way, can't it? For example, if two people are playing a game, like dodgeball's a good example.
Yeah.
Who's the survivor at the end? You know,
Yeah. The person
person.
that didn't get hit with the ball or whatever. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean they might have got killed by the ball hitting them in the chest. It means that they've just been the last
I suppose
person.
it depends who threw it. You
Yeah.
know, if
Well, yeah, that's true. If you're
like
very strong,
Otani or somebody slung it, maybe.
Hancock.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Hancock?
Yeah. What a film.
That is a good film. Will Smith
Yeah.
film. Okay, that's glanced over the head of about 80% of people. Okay, let's look at pronunciation. So I picked out a few words from the two paragraphs, just five this time. We've got deaths, deaths, that TH, yeah. Or, if you're in the south of England, definitely, and close to London, I would use an F, deaths.
Me too. For
Yeah,
me, it'd be,
as well, yeah.
in Yorkshire, it'd be deaths.
Yeah,
But we generally use th front in Sheffield anyway, like deaths and brother and things like that.
yeah, so F.
Things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically TH fronting is T and V replacing
Also
TH.
D is for us.
D?
Like the instead of the.
Duh.
Or
Yeah,
like, well, the thing with Sheffield is we're called DDARs, right? Because we use the word the and tha, which is Old English for you and your, but we pronounce it with instead of the and tha, it's D and da, which means DDAR, which is why Sheffield people are called DDARs.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So your history of English language there, mate.
That's a good one. Excessive, because this one's got a C and an S close to each other, and an X, which are all kind of have a similarities. So excessive. Okay, so watch out for that. We've got hazardous, hazardous, region, region, yeah. And then accidents, because this is an interesting one. Accidents. So you've got and then a S immediately.
Even though they're the same letter, there's two different sounds there. Yeah, yeah.
So accidents I've heard before, So
Or accident.
yeah. So it's you got to be careful with this one. Okay, let's do the shadowing portion. We're going to go through it. I will go first. Here we go. On October the 3rd, 2024, a tragic ferry disaster occurred on Lake Kivu in the Democratic Republic of Congo, resulting in the deaths of at least 87 people. The ferry, which had departed from Minova in South Kivu province, capsized near Kituku, just outside the city of Goma in North Kivu province. The ferry was reportedly overcrowded, carrying hundreds of passengers, many of whom were missing after the incident. Strong winds and the vessel's excessive load contributed to the disaster. The passengers on board were trying one more time. The passengers on board were trying to reach Goma, but the boat sank just 700 meters from the port. Overloading and hazardous conditions on Lake Kivu, exacerbated by ongoing conflict in the region, frequently lead to such accidents. At least 78 people were initially confirmed dead, with additional bodies recovered over the following days. 9 survivors were rescued and taken to local hospitals for treatment. Okay.
Very good.
And
There's
now
a sentence in there that's confusing for me, actually.
Go on, hit me up.
So, overloading and hazardous conditions on Lake Kivu, exacerbated by ongoing conflict in the region, frequently led to such accidents or lead to such accidents. you can kind of read it both ways, and it's confusing because you've got a few different tenses happening. So that's a really tricky sentence, even as a native speaker, to work out exactly which version of lead or led it should be.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, it could be, yeah, exactly for the pronunciation of that one word. And also
Mm.
exacerbate really could go on either side of this conversation. It
Could
could,
exacerbate or exacerbated. Like you could kind of switch it,
mm,
and it doesn't really matter which way you do it. So even for us, sometimes like reading text without hearing it can be tricky. So yeah.
yeah, 100%. Okay,
Anyway,
your turn.
let's give this a go. On October 3rd, 2024, a tragic ferry disaster occurred on Lake Kivu in the I knew I was going to say Dominican Republic.
You told
Try
yourself.
that again. Yeah, like before, I knew I was going to say it. So try that again. On October 3rd, 2024, a tragic ferry disaster occurred on Lake Kivu in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, resulting in the deaths of at least 87 people. The ferry, which had departed from Minova in South Kivu province, capsized near Kituku, just outside the city of Goma in the North Kivu province. The ferry was reportedly overcrowded, carrying hundreds of passengers, many of whom were missing after the incident. Strong winds and the vessel's excessive load contributed to the disaster. The passengers on board were trying to reach Goma, but the boat sank just 700 meters from the port. Overloading and hazardous conditions on Lake Kivu, exacerbated by ongoing conflict in the region, frequently led to such accidents. At least 78 people were initially confirmed dead, with additional bodies recovered over the following days. 9 survivors were rescued and taken to local hospitals for treatment. I
Yeah.
did not go that well, but I tried my best.
No, no, I see what you mean with the lead and the lead thing.
Yeah, it's hard,
So
isn't
when
it?
I
That.
first read it through, also, I was questioning it. So I just decided to go one way, you know.
Hmm. So,
Okay, let's have a look at the last one for today. So the last one is usually a little bit of fun. It's from local news, and the last three they've been quite funny, relatively funny. One
hmm.
about a streaker.
Yeah, I remember South Shields or whatever it was.
Yeah. Last week was about a bin lorry crashing, but today's kind of one that's quite nice feeling to end with, I think.
Yeah.
This one is from just the Wales news. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a newspaper this time, but I did go to a relatively local website that supplied this one.
Mm,
And this is about a couple. Let me read you the title. Couple mark 30 years of fostering of 32 children. Okay,
lovely.
so amazing, really. Couple
Mm,
referring to two people who are together in a relationship. So we talked about that last week. But I'll read through and then we'll go through these words. So here we go. It's said that it takes a village to raise a child. So what does it take to raise 32 children? Apparently, just a big heart and family support makes all the difference. At least that's what it took for a couple in Carmarthenshire who have been fostering children for more than 30 years and still don't have any plans to stop. Brett and Wendy's journey with fostering began in 1994 when they moved to a rural part of Carmarthenshire from Gloucestershire with their 2 children. Wendy had prior experience as a childminder and worked in a specialist school for children with disabilities. After settling their kids in local schools, Wendy got in touch with sorry. Wendy got in touch with her local authorities about the couple becoming foster parents, and they have never looked back. Among the couple's most memorable moments has been supporting a young person through different life transitions from when they were just 11. Both Brett and Wendy used to work full-time until recently, managing both work and fostering simultaneously. Wendy's job in a school further helped her to take their foster children and grandchildren to school. It also allowed her to be at home during holidays, thereby giving her time to care for them. Throughout their time fostering, the couple has supported over 32 children, several of whom keep in touch. In addition to fostering, the couple also ended up adopting 2 brothers who were aged 6 and 7 at the time and are now in their 30s. Okay, this is quite a nice story, yeah?
wow. Yeah, nice.
Some funny things
Also, like,
I want to talk
good
about.
thing for them. Like, they've obviously done an amazing thing, and I want to, give them props. But I also give props to you for the pronunciation of what
Carmarthenshire. Is
Carmarthenshire.
that only because
Carmarthenshire. Okay.
Carmarthenshire? It's only because I lived in Wales for 2 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I saw that and I was like, ooh. And you was like, straight off the top of the
I,
tongue, no
I
problem.
can't
So,
do like some of the trickier pronunciation. If
oh,
you
what's
have,
the Lang go 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 one?
yeah,
Yeah.
this one is like huge names because the Welsh
Mm,
language is, yeah, it's just it's a very interesting one.
mm.
But for some ones that where I was surrounded by some bits, and you get used to
Mm.
some of them. Yeah, so
So what
Carmarthenshire,
is it? Carmarthenshire. Okay. So
Carmarthenshire.
shire as in like not shire, which people get wrong. Shire.
Some people say Shire,
Yeah.
Gloucestershire,
Okay.
Gloucestershire. Hmm.
Gloucestershire.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. You can shorten it as well. Okay, this is nice. So there's some nice phrases in here that I wanted to pick up on. We got
Cool.
makes all the difference. I like this one.
Okay. So it makes the difference. It has like a really important effect on something. You know, usually positive. I would say it makes all this. It's usually a positive thing. Like, you know, a nice greeting and a smile when you pass somebody on the street makes all the difference.
Yeah. You could also say Zinedine Zidane made all the difference to the Real Madrid team or the France
Sure.
team that won the World Cup in '98. Yeah.
Apart from that final game.
Fostering. So I got two words actually in here that we're going to talk about: fostering and adopting.
Very similar, aren't they? So,
Yeah.
fosters like I would say fosters more like to temporarily care for, but they're not your child.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you'll hear like a young couple has a kid and then they're not emotionally mature enough to deal with it. So the grandma will foster the kid. It's not the grandma's kid, but you know.
Do you think it also works for parents that are addicted or something like this? Maybe.
Yeah, you know, they're not in a position to really take care of the
Yeah.
child for whatever reason. Then somebody else looks after them. It's not their child, but somebody like cares for them and takes care of them. That's foster, right?
Mhm.
But adopt is where the child legally becomes part of your family. Like
So
you
from
fill out
someone
the
else,
paperwork and you become their parents, basically.
yeah, not biologically yours, but from another family.
Legally. Yeah.
Legally, yeah, legally your child.
Yeah.
I know quite a few people who are adopted. It's great, really, really
I mean,
cool.
it's a lovely thing if you can do that. Like,
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah,
So it's same with animals as well. We do the same with like adopt a dog or adopt a cat from a shelter or something.
yeah,
You know, it's
100%.
also same thing. Like, yeah. So foster is to temporarily take care of a child that's not yours, and adopt is to legally trying to think of a word that's not own. To legally take a child and raise them as your own kid, right?
Raise them as your
Basically.
own, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome them into the family.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
Prior experience.
Okay, prior meaning before now, previous, I suppose. So previous knowledge or experience doing something. You know, I've got prior experience in IT. I used to work in IT.
There we go. Yeah, it's a good example. It's the important one because it's a regular one that you'd have in an interview or on your CV
Yeah,
or people
yeah,
talk
yeah, yeah.
about things. Yeah. To settle someone or something or settle down.
Hmm. Yeah, so to become comfortable in a new place, I suppose, to settle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if we both moved to Japan, and at first it's difficult, but then eventually you settle. Yeah.
Yeah, settle. Yeah, settle. You like you said, get used to, but settle could mean like you rest in that place, can't it? Like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
vehicle settled next to the shop or something like that. You wouldn't
Sure, sure, sure.
be
Or
saying,
like when you get in bed at first, like you're trying to get comfortable, then
yeah,
eventually you settle into a comfortable position. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then we got in touch and keep in touch. Now these sound simple. That's why I wanted
Ah,
to introduce them today.
yeah, a little different. So get in touch is the first contact usually.
Yes.
It basically means to contact somebody. So like I need to get in touch with the restaurant to check the reservation, you know. But keep in touch is usually between friends or family members or somebody with a existing relationship where you stay in contact with somebody. You
Mm.
know, you will regularly talk to each other, message each other, email each other, or whatever it is. And it's
Yeah.
to maintain that communication, even though maybe you don't see each other every day. So get in touch is like to contact somebody, and keep in touch is to maintain that, you know, back and forth over a longer period of time.
Yeah. 100%. And the last one is to look back.
Good. So not literally look back. I mean,
Mm.
like when you're reversing a car, you look back, but this is more metaphorical. You're thinking about the past. You're reminiscing, which is another word. So thinking about what happened in the past, and it tends to be good things when we look back. Looking back on my childhood, for example.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Yeah, nice. Um, it's close to the time. Did you want to?
I know, all right. I've got another bit.
Okay,
I'm all right for another 15 minutes or so.
excellent news. Just wanted to check, guys, because we know we've got other things to do, like lessons. You know, so the last thing is the quiz. First of all, let's quickly say this is a great story, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. Like really
Very nice.
heartwarming compared to the heavy part of the first part of the podcast. It's nice.
Well, if you think about
Yeah.
it, 32 kids. For some reason, it says over 32 children, which is, oh, I guess because they have their own kids. So it's
Ah, it makes
34.
sense. Not just like a fostered half a child or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Like I thought it was kind of strange. Why not just put 33? You know,
exactly.
over
Is there
30.
some measurement between 32 and 33 that we should
Why
know
not?
about?
Yeah, it's quite
Uh,
interesting, isn't it? But yeah, so this is a great story. And
yeah, love
imagine
it.
32 kids could be in much
How
worse
much
situations.
difference have
Yeah.
they made to 32 different lives? Like in life, we all want to have a positive impact on the world, but to have such a positive impact on 32 young people's lives is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's
Mm.
fantastic. Yeah, 100%. And then finishing up, we've got a quiz for you. We'll test your
Woo!
knowledge of some of these words we've gone over. So we've got 4 questions today. I'm going to say one, then Dan will do one, and vice versa. Okay. So here we go. Number one. Can you guess what word should be in the middle? The council members voted to approve the new community centre with everyone agreeing on the decision. So I'll give you five. Oh, the possible answers are prior experience, unanimously, memorable. Oh, blimey. Here we go. Let's start again. The possible answers are prior experience, unanimously, memorable, or rural. You can choose any of those, and we'll give you 5 seconds to pick right now. And the answer is dun, 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 unanimously. The council has
Whee!
voted unanimously to approve the new community centre. Okay.
Good. Very good. I
Two.
enjoyed the little bop of a song that you made for the countdown, by the way. I enjoyed
There
that.
is actually a song that
Oh.
goes on the thing. I shouldn't have done it, I guess, because then he's got
Okay, yeah, for when
to
they edit
edit
it, they
the
put the
audio
song
out.
in.
So maybe we'll be
So,
silent next time.
anyway, so question number 2. The boat began to after being hit by strong waves, causing it to turn over in the water. You've got 4 options. The first is rise, actually. See, I've messed it up as well. The first one, rise. The second one, capsize. The third is settle. And the fourth is adopt. You've got 5 seconds. And the correct answer, of course, is capsize. Good.
Nice job, yeah. The boat began to capsize. Turnover. Yeah. Do you remember it? And the third one. Here we go. I nearly said the answer. Using amounts of water during a drought can lead to several. Oh, blimey. One more
We are
time.
having a nightmare here, mate.
Oh, so sorry. It does happen even to us, when we're reading out loud, we make mistakes as well. But we're going to get better with the more podcasts we do, I'm sure. Here we go. Using amounts of water during a drought can lead to severe shortages. Is the answer A, excessive, B, specialist, C, whom, D, make a difference? Here we go, 5 seconds. The answer is excessive. Using excessive amounts of water during a drought can lead to severe shortages. Okay. And the last question, can you get it? Here we go.
If you need more information, please with our customer service team. The options are simultaneously, get in touch, look back, or authority. Answers coming in 5. And the answer is get in touch.
There we go. Can it be keep in touch?
Probably not for customer service unless you call them every day. All right, John, how are you doing today?
Exactly. I think the key thing is if you need more information, it means you haven't made the first
Oh yeah.
That's cool. So get in touch is the one. Okay, that's it for today. We've gone through three great articles. Thank you for joining us. Great if you got this far. Put a comment in to tell us if you found this useful or not, and don't forget the PDF. Okay, so it's bye from me. Ciao, ciao,
See you there.
ciao.